Hello everyone, welcome back to the KMT Traders channel. So this is the full market analysis volume 68. Again, we're going to be looking into the analysis for this week, and we're also going to compare our analysis from last week also. So we are going to cover gold and euro USD tomorrow. I just wanted to look over some things over there. But yeah, we'll start off with NZD USD. So what we looked at last week was a potential sell-off from 0.71. As we can see, we've had that full send towards the downside. I do think that we are capable of pushing lower because we are aiming into 0.69. So whether that we get a second opportunity to get in on this, so if this turns out to be a potential continuation move, we could be looking at something like this where price just pushes up just a little bit and then pushes lower. That could be a possible scenario. However, I am quite curious to see how strong this bullish momentum is. So this idea won't possibly be my first kind of option that I'll take. It will have to take some sort of bearish or strong bearish candle to consider that sell-off. But for now, as we can see here, it is quite strong, so I think there is some kind of strength coming into the market. So this is where it leads me into my second option, which I feel like is the most favorable or possible outcome, and that's where price has the ability to push up just a little bit higher and go deeper into 0.71 and then potentially turn over towards the downside. So essentially that's my kind of outlook on this pair for this week. We're essentially still looking for that sell-off bias. As we can see here, we've had that pretty good opportunity to get in on there. If you did take that sell-off opportunity, then that would have been quite a few good pips there, actually. 140 odd pips. That's fine. We're still aiming into 0.69, so whether that you're holding on to this, whether you're not, if you're still waiting on that second opportunity, this opportunity could be arising something like this, where we'll either see a turnover through this range to here, or the other opportunity is that we'll get price to push above deeper into 0.71, and then we could have that turnover into the market towards the downside, in which I'm personally aiming into 0.69 and into this zone here. So nicely tying it all in together. So we'll see how this all collides and works out over the next few weeks or so. We also have possible reason why this was obviously pushing up higher. We did have that NFP, so that could install some kind of strength here. So who knows, we'll see exactly how this unfolds as well. So I forgot to mention that at the start, sorry. But yeah, moving on to AUD USD. So similar situation with the other pair, NZD USD, is that we were looking for that sell-off opportunity, and as we can see here, there was that nice change here. So this one led into a good 125 pips and a maximum move of 150. So I personally would have been happy with a good 100 pips there. So what I'm looking at for this week, so as we can see here, we've had that huge push from the NFP. So likely we're going to, this is why I was thinking more for this for NZD USD also, is that it has the possibility of pushing higher and breaking up to this point. So we could be looking at continuation trades towards the upside as a short term, but for the long term, we are looking for price to potentially come into 0.65 and then have that turnover towards the downside, in which we continue to make more lows, potentially into 0.74. Although I've not marked it out, these are critical levels that I've got marked out mentally in my head. So again, I'll just label this for you now. We'll do a quick zone. So 0.65, and we'll change the color of that to red. Oh, I don't like that one. So yeah, we're simply just marking these out for the next zone that we are potentially coming into or aiming into. But yeah, I'm looking into 0.65 as a reaction point potentially, and for price to take out 0.74 as a potential long-term target. But again, that's not going to stop us from potentially taking some buy trades, because price action towards the upside is a good 100 pips also. So we can keep that in mind, even in coming into 0.76 also. So we might actually extend that into this range here, so anywhere within this range. But just for simplicity and nice, I like this, how it's coming into this zone here, so we could have some sort of reflection and reaction from that point onwards. So definitely we're going to see some point here, but I'm not saying it will definitely get to 0.65. You know, we could expect some sort of turnaround within this range, as long as we don't break this higher zone up here, which is all the way up at 0.79. I still think that we're confidently bearish on this pair. So definitely we're going to have to wait and see what happens over the next few days or so. So good opportunity to come through that one. So USD JPY. So let me have a look at what we spoke about through last week. So here, as we can see here, we were expecting one or two scenarios, and as you can see, this scenario towards the upside actually held out. So we can see price is definitely now broken above this 111 point level. So we're essentially now at this retesting level point which we spoke about, so we can get rid of this potential down move for the time being, because I think that we have the ability to push up higher now, just based on, you know, how price is still stepping up. I still think there is a potential move left in the tank for this. But yeah, I do want to see some sort of retest now, as we've seen price break through this barrier, had a potential you know, rejection off this level here at roughly 111.5. So we'll see how this kind of reacts now over in the long run, but I think that we could be looking at for this sort of opportunity here. So let me give you something that we can look into. So as we can see, price is just stepping up, so you know, I won't be surprised if price does something like this where we get a bit of a dip into price, potentially come into 110, 1110. Might do, it might not, but you know, within this range here, and then have that reversal towards the upside, and to potentially come back into 112. So you know, potentially this could be a nice buying opportunity. And you know, is there any place that we can get a sell? We could take a sell opportunity. It really just depends if the setup is good enough. You know, we could take a sell down into this range. Let's take a look at the RSI. So divergence wise, we're not really seeing anything major just yet, but we could be expecting a third push up, and if we do, that's why I'm expecting a potential push towards the upside, so that we could get a failure. So it would look something like this, you know, where price does something like that and then push lower. So whilst we get another peak here, a lower peak, this would have to break this high here in order for this divergence theory to come into play. But yeah, in theory, what we could expect is price to break this low here, and then look for that price towards the upside, and colliding nicely with the upside trend. So this uptrend here, we could see some sort of temporary manipulation. So like I always talk about fake out. So if we draw in again the, you know, these lines here, as we can get steeper and steeper, obviously you can get steeper and steeper with it, but the whole idea of this is just to get some sort of you know, indication of where that potential manipulation can come from. So ultimately we're just waiting for price to find that area of where price can be manipulated. So yeah, as we can see, price is stopping into this area here. Well, my computer's pretty much frozen right now, but we'll just wait for it. But yeah, as we can see, price is just dropping in, and as I've drawn out here already, that price is, you know, got this intermediate uptrend. If we come into this area, we can start to see that, you know, potential manipulations get increased. So it kind of makes sense that we've got all these areas that could be manipulated, if that makes sense. So that's why I personally avoid taking some trades based on you know, manipulations or around the uptrends or downtrends. I personally like to add in a lot of price action with my analysis, just to increase the confluence with it. Otherwise we'll start to run into problems in the sense of fake outs, which is quite evident, you know, if over time, if you start to take those trades, you know, you personally need to do your own back testing here. So yeah, so another thing to add into as well is that, you know, the reason why we've had a potential push lower, obviously we've ended with the NFP week, so essentially we're just waiting for price to, you know, pretty much exhaust this momentum. So we've got that additional push towards the downside, so we could see price momentum come lower, heading into this uptrend, and then see some breakouts, some fake outs, and that could be enough for price to hopefully push up. So yeah, so the computer's back to normal, so we'll get back into the analysis now. So yeah, essentially we're trying to see where price can go into, but yeah, the downside opportunity, we could scrape some pips, but if we're looking more long term and which one has the more higher reward, we are looking at the upside opportunity. So definitely keep that up for grabs and keep that in mind. I'll definitely keep looking for that for the next week or so. If we take a look at CAD JPY, so for this pair, we are still waiting for an upside, a turnover here potentially. So this one's going to be quite small. We do have a very small range here. As we come into 90.5, we could see a reaction here, as we're seeing multiple rejections, 1, 2, 3, all this area here. We could see some sort of rejection here, so I'll just quickly label it out just for obvious sakes, but basically it's just here. So you can see here there's multiple rejections. This area is a very key point where we found manipulations, so that's why I'm thinking that if we start to see a big breaking candle towards the upside, we could see more momentum pushing up higher. So that's why I'm going to keep this scenario that we spoke about last week here still, and that is that if we get a break above 90.5, we should just wait for that retest, and then we can get in on that entry and continue that momentum to break this high and potentially into 92. So either way, we should get an opportunity where we're clear that we're going to get a sell, and if we do get a sell, we'll take it all the way low to this low, so 255 into 88, which ties in nicely with this low, so that's why. And then if we get a break towards the upside, we can still make some good pips here. So depending on where it retraces and where it reacts from, we can still make a good 100 of pips or so, or 80 pips. But let's just say we can extend it for another 20 odd pips, good 100 there. So it's not always about being greedy. It's not always about being right. You have to be careful with that, because that also entices greed and fear. So be careful of where you want the market to go and where your analysis plays out. And that's why I have a bit of flexibility on my mind where I want price to go. So ultimately, I do have a good plan for this one. So equally, will be prepared for the upside opportunity or to the downside opportunity. So we'll just have to stay patient with this and just wait. So yeah, we'll keep an eye out for this one. So let's take a look into our next pair. So Euro JPY. So for this, I actually am looking at potential continuations towards the upside. I think that through this spike towards the downside, we did have that good strength in the opportunity towards the upside, but I am also reluctant to see that there is a potential sell-off opportunity as well in store for us. So it really just depends how strong this upside momentum is, really. So like I said, I am going to keep an eye out for any short-term plays here, just for the sake of how price is going to react. Short term, if we were to get able to come up to this top of the trend line as a potential target at 133, we could stretch 100 pips or so. So something like that could be an ideal potential buy, and that's really where I want to focus on so far. But if we start to see more breaks towards the downside, then we could be looking at more potential lows before we end up going higher. So I'm just going to get rid of this one because I don't think that this is enough valid here. I'm pretty happy with this bullish momentum that we ended off last week with. NFP dragging price action down, not really too much volatility here, but we can see that there is a potential continuation play towards the upside. So we're definitely going to keep our minds and eyes on this pair, see if we can ride this one to the upside. So NZD, JPY, so similar kind of thing again. Let me get rid of this, but pretty much what we could potentially see is price make its way towards the upside, and then have that kind of turnover towards the downside, in which we could be potentially aiming back into 75.5, which is my original long-term bias. So we're definitely sticking to this long-term bias, but as you can see, as time's gone on, Price action doesn't necessarily have to stay exactly what we're doing. Long term, we could potentially see the 618 being targeted, which kind of runs in between the 79 zone. So we could see price react off that level and then push lower. So we'll definitely keep an eye out for that, because that could be a good downside opportunity. So if price comes to 79 flat to this to the low, good 350 pips there. So definitely one for the long term run. AUD JPY, maybe a similar situation again, where we could see price push up higher, but I'm also liking this sell-off opportunity. So I'm going to put two situations again, extending on what we spoke about from last week, where we could get price to potentially take out the highs, so price to come up and then break into 84.5 and then have that rollover. Or the other scenario that we could be expecting is price to just make its way within this range, below 84.5, and then have price to push up and then continue that rollover towards the downside into 82. So pretty much that's where we're sticking with AUD JPY and NZD JPY, which is similar sell-off opportunities as well. Based on the fact that there's a higher time frame sell-off, but equally, I'm also being mindful that there is that buy-off, there is this bullish momentum also. So that's why we could have a possibility that we could break the highs and then turn over. But I'm also keeping in mind that this could be it for the bull run, the intermediate bull run from the 21st of June to the 25th. So we may have just had like a 5-day bull run, and then this could be the start of the continuation lower. So yeah, that's my kind of thought process so far. So coming into the last two pairs, so USD Chef. So I actually should have done a new video for this. Actually, yeah, I will do a new video for this, because we are discussing some long-term pairs. So we will discuss that tomorrow. So I will take that as a blank. So basically, just as whilst I'm here, we saw that we had that huge arrow towards the downside. I'm not entirely too convinced with that, just based on this bearish candle, but I'll discuss this into more detail in the next video for that. USD CAD then finally will end off on this note. So for this, what I'm looking out for is this long-term move towards the upside still. I think that there is a possibility of price pushing up, but for now, what I'm keen to see is if price can take this low that we're talking about, so at 122.5. And as we can see, price has been stretching up and up and up. We can see that price has just clearly been pushing up higher and higher. So now that we've had this huge drop off into the market, equally there's a nice buying opportunity that we can be prepared for or preparing for. And likewise, there is a potential moneymaker towards the downside. So from where price action is, there's 60 odd pips, but I'm expecting price to make some sort of potential retracement within this, possibly at 1.235, and if we can grab into this low, if we can grab into this level and take it to the low, then we can look at a nice 100 pip opportunity. But yeah, the main move for me though personally is towards this upside. So taking at 1.225 towards the high at 1.25, good 250 pip move there. So again, definitely a long-term play we have to be mindful of. But yeah, so again, this week has been quite jam-packed with lots of moves. Again, lots of opportunities also around the corner for this up and coming week. Again, if you did make it all the way to the end of this video, I do appreciate your time for listening. We do have a trading group that you can join. That link is also in the description also. And if you have any other comments that you'd like to ask me, or any other questions you'd like to ask me, feel free to leave me, get in touch with me through the comment section or Instagram. So again, guys, thank you very much for listening, and that will be all from us. We'll see you all in our next video.